So here is the breaking news regarding the president's son, Hunter. Hunter Biden apparently has reached a tentative deal with federal prosecutors to plead guilty to 2 minor tax crimes and admit to the facts of a gun charge under terms that would likely keep him out of jail. That's according to the Washington Post and court papers that have been filed as of today, Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. Hunter Biden, age 53, might appear in court to enter a plea on that. Any proposed deal, I'm reading now, any proposed deal would have to be approved by a federal judge. It's not immediately clear as to whether or not Hunter Biden might appear in court to enter his guilty plea. That's what we're breaking right now. In a nutshell, that is the headline, Dana.
And David Weiss is the U.S. attorney there in that district. Leo Wise is the one who signs this document here that I'm looking at. Looks official to me, basically saying that to Keith Kincaid, the clerk's office, that this is the decision that's been made, and pretty remarkable because, you know, for so long the White House has insisted that Hunter never did anything wrong. They would try to punt things over the Justice Department, but they would comment on things like that. We have reached out to the White House. We're waiting for a response on that. I'm sure we will. I'm hoping that we will get one.
So we have known for some time, or at least it's been reported, that Biden's team, Hunter Biden's team, has said that he had paid the back taxes to the IRS. And our legal minds have told us that oftentimes in these cases, when you pay your back taxes, it's essentially admission of guilt. So if you were to go before the judge would be leaning on you because you essentially did your time in terms of paying the money, and you could avoid jail time because of that.
Right. And that is also in accordance with what you were talking about, the minor gun charge. Remember, this has to deal with the fact that he applied for a gun permit but lied on the application. And there has to be some consequence for that, and perhaps this is a way for them to avoid jail time for the president's son, Hunter Biden. This is, I say it's unprecedented. I don't want to say it's the first in history for a criminal charge to be made against a president's son while he's in office. So we have some precedents that we are making right here.
I would agree on that. Just further into the piece here now from the Washington Post, Biden will admit to illegally possessing that gun. After his purchase 5 years ago, 2018, as part of the admission, he will enter a diversion program that we were just referring to, which is a lesser sentence that typically applies to people who have a substance issue. And at the time that he put in his application, he had a substance abuse problem that he lied about on the application. He was able to get the gun. Prosecutors would then recommend 2 years of probation and diversion conditions. Now, if he meets the conditions of the program, the diversion program, the gun charge then is removed from his record. So it's essentially expunged after 24 months, and it does not appear as some sort of federal charge or felony charge.
And just further to your point, this is one of the reasons that people do decide to make a plea deal, to try to get this behind them. Hunter Biden is 53 years old. He charged with illegally possessing a handgun in 2018 and failure to timely file and pay taxes in 2017 and 2018. We'll see if we can get John Levine here as well from the New York Post. He knows this story inside and out. But one of the questions has been the question of how much money Hunter Biden was getting. And we know that some of that money was some of the money that was coming in was wired to different family members. You know, Bill, one of the things is, if you get a decision like this, does it answer the question, or do you get to get the answers to who is the big guy? You have to imagine that Bob Alinsky, what is he thinking this morning as this all news comes to fruition? Where from the beginning, if you remember the 51 security officials who said the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, and now we get to this result today.
Yeah, and you think about the political aspects of this, Dana, and if that case moves forward that just you referred to, but these 2 cases are resolved. You're what, 16 months away from really the heat of a national election that Joe Biden plans to fully participate in. And if you can take this issue off the table, does that help you politically during that campaign? One could argue yes, if it's resolved.
He also recently, in the recent past, changed lawyers. Do you remember that? So he had a legal team, and then he changed lawyers. He went with Abby Lowell. And there's so many investigations. I have to make sure I've got this right, that it's the right one. But the White House initially, at least the Biden camp, was reportedly unhappy with that new Hunter Biden legal team because they didn't like their approach. If you're running for president of the United States for re-election and your son is going to be indicted and possibly face jail time, I would imagine that if they thought this was coming, that this was the best thing to do to get this done now in, 14 months before?
16 roughly.
Months
what is this,
before
June?
the general election?
Yeah, roughly 16, that's right. So the questions that have not been answered, however, is what was going on with the Ukrainian energy company and what was going on with the money from China. And there are Republicans who will argue that you're not going to get answers on that so long as Joe Biden is in the White House and Merrick Garland is the Attorney General. That may or may not be the case, but that's oftentimes they've come onto our program and argued that. Recall in December of 2020, okay, that's a couple weeks after the election's decided, FBI agents approached Hunter Biden to talk to him about his finances. So now we are 2.5 years on from that interview, and we don't have a conclusion on that. But at that time, December of 2020, that's when he publicly confirmed that he was under investigation. Also at the time, a spokesperson for the president said that he had never even considered being involved, that's a quote now, in business with his family, nor in any overseas business whatsoever. And this question has come up repeatedly on behalf of Jackie Heinrich and Peter Doocy, and the president has been rather consistent on his answers. I believe just recently he suggested that was a dumb question, and he's had various responses to that that are sardonic, sarcastic along the way.